Piranacon, a giant underwater monstrous transformer, a Titan-class monstrosity. Underwater, no one can hear you scream. Hailing from the Generation 1 or G1 continuity of the Transformers franchise, Piranacon is a Decepticon fighter that Megatron himself considers an ideal warrior. That is high praise for anyone, considering Megatron only sees someone being useful or trash. And we all know about what he does with trash. Literally takes it out. Piranacon has an absolutely menacing presence on the battlefield. His towering structure and sea creature inspired design make his appearance a sight to behold. Piranacon is one of those Transformers that looks like a Gundam that is being piloted by someone who wants the world to either be destroyed or under his control. There is a reason why Piranacon is a specialist in underwater combat. It is simply due to the fact that his combat abilities, skills, and talents when fighting undersea are unparalleled. Now, with the introduction of Piranacon out of the way, we want to make a note that Piranacon is not to be confused with the Piranacons that work for the Quintessence. With that, let us not waste any more time and get straight to how Piranacon comes to life. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. How is the Piranacon formed? As we mentioned earlier, Piranacon is a combiner. That means it is a transformer that is the result of a merger between 6 other lesser transformers. It also implies that Piranacon is a being with primitive intelligence. This is due to the different minds that need to work in unison to make any decisions whatsoever. It highly increases the time it takes for one to process information and decide their next move. With that being the only downside of the combiners, Piranacon has a way to move past this slight nerf. But first, let us talk about the transformers that constitute the different parts of Piranacon that are the Seacons. Number 1. The ever so cunning and calculating Snaptrap. As his name suggests, Snaptrap can transform into his vicious animal mode that resembles a snapping turtle. He is the leader of the Seacons and has shown great leadership qualities. When combined, Snaptrap forms the torso of Piranacon. The malicious and ferocious Overbite. Also in correlation to his name, Overbite can transform into an agile and scary looking shark that possesses extra limbs for increased productivity. Overbite becomes the right hand of Piranacon when merged and is usually seen as the dominant hand with a weapon to hold. Seawing, the covert operator. Following the theme, Seawing can transform into an aquatic monster known as a manta ray. Seawing is a fast swimmer whose abilities allow him to be sneaky and conniving. When combined, Seawing forms the left hand. As seen in most appearances, Seawing wields a blaster-like weapon for Piranacon's use. The incompetent and inept Nautilus. When combined, Nautilus forms the weapon of the Piranacon. This is possible due to the target master mode that has been installed in him. When in his animal mode, Nautilus transforms into a giant lobster-esque monster. The wretched and dirty Scalor. Scalor is the epitome of an unhygienic and disgusting transformer. His habits are so dirty that others should simply stay away from him. When in his animal form, Scalor can transform into a coelacanth that is famous for consuming larger prey than itself. When merged, Scalor forms the right leg. The sadistic and fight-loving Tentakill. Tentakill has the mindset of a deranged warrior. He enjoys causing pain and loves to see others suffer. That is a testament to his appearance because, in his animal form, Tentakill becomes a squid with limbs. With an appearance so horrifying, he must enjoy the suffering of everyone who glances at him. When merged to form Piranacon, Tentakill becomes his left leg. It is also essential to note that each component barring Snaptrap of the Piranacon possesses the abilities of the target master mode. That means 5 of the 6 Seacons can transform into a weapon when combined to form Piranacon. This ensures that the Piranacon never runs out of weapons and his arsenal is full of incredible power. When merged with combiner technology, these 6 Seacons form the mighty Piranacon. Although Piranacon is not as humongous in size compared to the other combiners, he still grows exponentially in size when compared to the size of the normal Seacons. Originally, Overbite was supposed to fill the role of becoming Piranacon's weapon, but since the part does not require much discipline and decision-making skills, the Seacons decided that Overbite's role will be taken up by Nautilus, who is otherwise a cowardly and incompetent Seacon. This works wonders for the team as they do not need to deal with the Nautilus' stupidity to perform any action. Clearly, every adjustment that the Seacons have made seems to work marvelously since Piranacon is one of the few recipients of Megatron's acknowledgement. So much that Megatron openly stated that he wishes that he had more capable warriors like Piranacon in his ranks. Exploring the detailed Marvel comic book story arc featuring Piranacon. In the Marvel Comics continuity of the Transformers franchise, Piranacon was first introduced to the audience when his service was employed by none other than Shockwave. They were summoned to Earth by Shockwave, who sought to use their affinity for water and undersea adeptness for the preparations of their subaquatic island headquarters for the Decepticons. They were tasked with the fortifications of the headquarters and were provided with the ability to transform into earthly aquatic monsters. While they were following their initial orders, the Seacons were unprepared to face their strongest foe yet, an adversary who has come back from the future that is arguably stronger than any other foes the Seacons will face in their time ahead. This enemy was Galvatron. The menace from the future was threatening Shockwave's position as the leader of the Decepticons. Knowing that the threat of Galvatron was very real and prospectively could result in an overthrowing of his rule, Shockwave orders the Seacons to deal with Galvatron. Now attempting to protect the island headquarters from the intrusion of wrathful Galvatron, the Seacons were trounced at every step of the way. Galvatron proved to be simply too powerful for the 6 Seacons to face against. This prompted them to combine and form Piranacon. Now with their increased size, strength, and firepower, Piranacon believed that he had what it took to fight on par with Galvatron and even defeat him. Unfortunately, he did not, and Galvatron was able to defeat Piranacon without breaking a sweat. The fight was also unfair for Galvatron because it was a battle that took place underwater. Still, he proved too formidable for Piranacon. After his defeat, Piranacon separated back into the Seacons and they were left where they had fallen victim to Galvatron. He also mentions how Shockwave's decision to send the Seacons to fight him was a mistake as he simply arrived there to talk, but now he will see him as an enemy. Sometime after, the Decepticons' subaquatic island headquarters was shifted to somewhere in the Arctic. The majority of the Decepticon soldiers were not expecting any visitors or allied forces on this particular day when an unknown spaceship attempted to enter their airspace. Suddenly on high alert, Piranacon was appointed to deal with the intruders. Considering the spaceship's advances to be hostile, Piranacon was ready to unleash his might and showcase his strength. To deal with the issue at hand, Piranacon positioned himself directly below where the spaceship was landing and instantly grabbed onto the edge of the ship. Piranacon was ready to fling it around or smash it to the ground when Starscream intervened and commanded him to stop. Piranacon agreed, and he was soon informed that the spaceship was a Decepticon battalion that had come to visit and was led by Scorponok. Hearing this, Piranacon ensured no damages were done to the ship and set it down on the ground as gently as he could. In the Transformers comic magazine, Snaptrap was sent to New York City as a gift of peace from Megatron towards humanity. They orchestrated the whole thing so that they could use the tactic of the Trojan horse that was used by Greek colonies against the mighty forces of Troy. Their plan was to gift a statue of Snaptrap to the humans so that he could start his assault on their cities from within when they least expected. Somehow, due to the errors in the writing perhaps, Snaptrap was able to transform into Piranacon once night fell all alone without the need of the other members. Then Piranacon went on a rampage and sought to leave a trail of debris everywhere he went. He was eventually stopped by the team of Sparkabots, Quick Mix, and Scoop. In the Classics continuity, Piranacon went up against another combiner that goes by the name of Abominus. Formed from the merger of the Terracons, Abominus is a formidable fighter that is able to accomplish feats of great proportions. His animalistic nature and warrior's fury are a big threat to any of his adversaries. After a grueling battle that went back and forth a couple of times, Piranacon was able to stab Abominus in the back with his sword and come out triumphant. This exchange separated the Terracons and put them into a collective stasis lock. Looking back at some of the other major comic book storylines featuring Piranacon. Piranacon has made some appearances in the comics outside of the Marvel Comics continuity. Most notably, Piranacon was seen in the Dreamwave Generation 1 continuity. Although there was not much action to be documented from Piranacon, we get to know some important pieces of information about their formation and why they prefer it to be like that. As mentioned earlier, Nautilator forms the target master weapon for the Seacons after they merge into Piranacon. The usual method of combining for the Seacons was that each member would take turns becoming the target master weapon for Piranacon apart from Snaptrap. But this deal was broken after all the members landed on an agreement that Nautilator was not an asset but a disadvantage during battle. They decided that it was better if Nautilator's mindset was not a part of decision making when they merged to form Piranacon. To exclude him from the mix, they decided to make him the resident target master weapon for Piranacon for any future times when they merge. After they made this decision, the effectiveness of Piranacon on the battlefield increased greatly, and all the members were satisfied with how well they could function without any interruptions from Nautilator. In the G.I. Joe vs. the Transformers comics, Piranacon made an appearance when the Predacons were assaulting Nautilator. As a form of response to their targeting, the Seacons merged to form Piranacon and faced the Predacons, who would also combine to form Predaking. Now, fighting one of the most powerful combiners is never a good idea, and the Seacons learned this lesson through a hard and embarrassing defeat. Predaking was easily able to fight and nearly kill Piranacon, and his life was only spared because of the intervention from Serpent OR, who arrived to recruit recruit the two combiners into his army of Decepticons. Later, Piranacon supported his team in the fight against Omega Supreme alongside Predaking. What makes Piranacon so powerful? As mentioned earlier, Piranacon has a way to move past the major limitation of the combiners. The limitation is the primitive mindset of the combiner, resulting in limited intelligence as their combined form requires all members/components to agree upon one thing to perform that action. If there's any form of disagreement or hesitation, it results in incompetency and lack of effectiveness. However, Piranacon can somewhat circumvent this limitation. This is due to the combined love for hunting and being a menace that is shared by all of the Seacons. Their lust for hunting is so strong that sometimes they fail to think objectively and get fixated on their target until they either kill them or die themselves. This has resulted in a loss of all energy for Piranacon in the past, and that is why Snaptrap has installed a failsafe inside Piranacon. This failsafe is basically an automatic timer that is activated for a limited period of time. After the time is over, Piranacon reverts back to the Seacons by disassembling. One of the other biggest advantages Piranacon has over other Transformers is the fact that all members of the Seacons are target masters apart from Snaptrap. This results in a variety of weapons and varying effectiveness. For example, Tentakill infamously transforms to become the mass compression cannon. It is an extremely strong weapon that exerts immense pressure on its target by surrounding them in an energy field. This generated pressure can reach up to 8 tons per square inch, much like the pressure one feels in the deepest depths of the ocean. Apart from possessing incredible durability, longevity, and firepower, Piranacon is immensely strong when it comes to physical strength. He was easily able to manhandle a whole spaceship with people aboard. In the official bio for Piranacon, it is mentioned that he could lift up to 4 million tons. That is the combined weight of over 270,000 buses in total. Although we believe that is a bit of an exaggeration, it still does not take anything away from Piranacon, who could be half that strong and still do wonders. Most commonly, Piranacon is armed with a powerful sonic blaster and a trident-like sword much like the god of the seas in Greek mythology, Poseidon. The three-pronged sword can be used to create devastating shockwaves and impales enemies easily. The sword is also capable of creating colossal tidal waves that can go over 300 feet high. Conclusion. Overall, Piranacon is a severely underrated and heavily underutilized character with an amazing design and a menacing appearance. Piranacon has all the telltale signs of being a Decepticon: affinity for destruction, love for the hunt, devastating powers, and difficulty in following orders. Although the character is not that well known in the community, we believe he is an iconic part of the Transformers franchise that deserves more love. His powers and abilities combined with his imposing appearance have made him a force to be reckoned with, and we hope that we get to see more from him in the future. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.